Okay, here are the notes for 7.2. We are actually going to do this one over 2 days. There's a lot of exponent properties in this section. So this is 7.2 day 1. I apologize for this thing down here. It won't go away. I don't know how to make it go away. So in the first example, a lot like we've been doing in class, I'm not going to tell you how to do it. We're going to go to expanded form and use the math and the tools that we know and see if we can start to recognize patterns. So in the first one, you can see 5 to the third. I wrote 5 to the third in expanded form over 5. Well, I know 5 divided by 5 is 1. So there I put the 1. And what do I have left? I have 5 squared, which equals 25. So you are going to use that same idea for the next 5 examples. I want you to look for patterns. Look at what you're starting with and what you're ending with. And again, keep using expanded form because that way when we get to kind of a rule, it will make more sense. So what I'd like you to do when I say so, you're going to push pause. You're going to try these 5 examples with your group. Work together, compare, and when you're ready, you're going to push play and you can come back and check your answers. Please push pause now. Okay, here are our answers, as you can see. At any time when I show answers or anything, don't forget you have the ability to pause and check what we're doing. So over here, you'll see I had 5 to the third over 5 to the first is what we call that. How many 5s do you see? 1, so that would be 5 to the first. And I ended up with 5 squared. 5 to the fifth over 5 to the third. I got 5 squared. And you can kind of see, I'm hoping you're going to start to see some patterns. If you don't, it's okay. You can use expanded form. But again, in math, we're looking and searching out patterns so that if I gave you something like x to the 187 divided by x to the 100th, that you don't have to write all of them out, that maybe you could find a shortcut for that. So first, look at your paper, check your answers. Did you get what I did? If something's different, look at my work. See if you can see what looks a little different than the way you did it. If there's something you have a question on, write that right on your paper, right on your notes, so that you can ask me when I come back. All right, we're going to look at another set of problems. And you did some of these when we did our exploration yesterday with the worksheet we did yesterday. And we did one like this on the side with the exponent rules. So here I have 3 over 2 squared. Well, 3 over 2 squared is 3 over 2 times 3 over 2. So in multiplying fractions, we multiply across the top, so that's 3 squared, and multiply across the bottom. So again, look at how we started, look at where we ended with the exponents, and then I simplified the 3 squared and the 2 squared. So we're not going to jump from here to here because we're missing what the exponents are actually doing. And when we have x's and y's, we're going to want to pay attention to that. So again, this is where I want you to push pause, try the next 5, check with your group, work with your group, and then come back and see how you did. Please push pause now. Okay, here are the answers that I have. You can see I did expanded form. Again, I started with 3 over 2 to the second, and I ended with 3 to the second over 2 to the second. I started with 1/3 to the third, and I ended up with 1 to the third over 3 to the third. 2 over 5 to the fourth, and I ended up with 2 to the fourth over 5 to the fourth. I think you're probably catching on to what's going on. And I did the same idea down here with the x's and the y's. So again, you're looking to, I want you to see the expanded form. So when it gets crazy and there's lots of other numbers, you can always go back to this and start to see and make that connection to what it's supposed to be. So in these examples, I mixed up the x's and the y's, and that's okay. If you're not exactly sure, Mrs. Renfrey, I don't know how to start this, go to expanded form just like we did before. Put 3 x's in a row, then 4 y's in a row. On the top, 2 x's on the bottom and a y on the bottom. Divide to be 1 and see what you have left over. If you saw some patterns in the previous slides that we did, you may want to try those out and then go to expanded form to see if you got it right, if you did find a shortcut that actually worked. So please push pause and work with your group now. Okay, and here are the answers. You'll see in blue, I used kind of a rule or a pattern. I saw that anytime I divided where the bases, which are that big thing that you're raising to the power, when the bases were the same, I could subtract the exponents. So you'll see I did that here. If you're not there, Mrs. Renfrew, you're blowing my mind, I'm not sure what's going there. Look, I did it in expanded form in red. So x divided by x is 1, or 1 over 1. And you can see what's happening here. So that denominator of 1 is because it's 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1. So again, if I go too quickly, you are welcome to push pause, kind of take a moment to look at this work and understand it. Ask questions, write a question on your notes, or turn to someone in your group. Hey, I'm not really understanding how she got this. Can you help me out? If you can explain it, you know it really well. And again, I have my work down here. I didn't have the x to the fourth and x to the fourth all into expanded form. I'm hoping you're starting to be able to visualize that there. Again, I apologize for this behind the smart notebook sign, but there it is if you needed it. So the blue and the red answers are exactly the same. It's just a matter of I did them in different ways. I'm hoping you're going to get to a point where maybe you can use the blue, but the red expanded form always works, and I think that's a way that helps you to make sure it makes sense. All right, here's a new set for you. So I'm going to let you work on these with your group. Again, just keep trying. If you can do expanded form, do that. If you want to try a rule, try it. See if it works. Go to expanded form and see if you got the same answer. Test it out. So push pause now and work with your group. All right, I have the answers here. Again, for the first one, I showed you blue, kind of using that rule that when I'm dividing, I subtract exponents. But again, in red, going to expanded form so that you could see why I did that and why that made sense. Again, over here, that looks very similar to examples we were doing before. If you go to expanded form, you'll see that. Over here, I circled the 15 and the 5 because I divided those first. That's how I got the 3. The x to the 6th over x squared, again, expanded form if you're not sure how I got x to the 4th, and y to the 7th over y to the 4th. It kind of became 3 little problems. Over here, I have the same thing. Now, I did expanded form here because 56 divided by 8 is 7, and I think you can follow where the y to the 6th came from. But I often have people say, but this is x to the 4th, x to the 4th. They all cross out, so it's 0. No, when we divide a number by itself, we get 1. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 8 divided by 8 is 1. X to the 4th divided by x to the 4th is 1. And you can see when I divide these, I'm getting 1. So 7 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 7. All right, and then I have the bottom two here. Notice here that the answer is the same as the original problem. I had 7 x's across the top. 5 y's across the top. Well, x and y don't divide, so it's really just the same thing it was when I started. Over here, I did this part first, where I had kind of simplified this piece right here. That's where y to the 5th over x to the 5th came from. You'll notice this part didn't change. That's still here. From this step to this step, I just flip-flop the x's and the y's so that one is under the other one. You don't have to do that step. That's just, some people might like that. It might line up a little better. And then I have 9 x's on the top, 5 x's on the bottom. If I start to divide out, I'm left with x to the 4th on the top, and same here. And again, push pause if I'm going too quickly. All right, I believe this is our last set. So again, you're going to try these on your own. Go to expanded form if you need to. That's okay. Some of these are tricky. Some of the easier ones, maybe you can use the rules. Some of the harder ones, maybe you need expanded form. So please give those a try now. Please push pause. All right, let me shrink this up. All right, so here is my work. Again, x to the 5th over 4. See, I left that one right there. And I just worked with this one. 2 over x times 2 over x times 2 over x would give me 2 to the 3rd over x to the 3rd. 2 to the 3rd is 8. That's where that 8 came from. And I move the x to the 5th to the back just to line it up. Again, you don't have to do that. 8 divided by 4 is 2. X to the 5th divided by x to the third is x squared. Okay, over here, you can see that one. Again, on the top here, I applied this one. I've had x times y 5 times in a row. X times y, 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 which means I have x to the fifth. I have 5 x's written across the top and 5 y. So I did that top first. Then I divided, and that's where that came from. Over here, again, I have 2 times x, 5 times across the top. That gives me 5 2's and 5 x's. 2 to the fifth over 2 to the first. Again, you have 5 2's across the top and a 2 on the bottom. One set's going to divide. I'm still going to be left with 4 2's. X to the fifth, x to the fifth. Well, they're all going to divide out to be 1. So I'm just left with 16. Over here, I started with the top. Okay, so notice the bottom's exactly the same, and I just worked with the top. Then I did the division. The same thing goes over here. Okay, so I worked with the top. I worked with the bottom. Again, expanded form if you're not sure where those numbers came from. I have 6 5's on the top and 3 5's on the bottom. When I divide, I'm left with 3 5's. Notice that the A's, all of them will divide. Anything divided by itself is 1. So the A's divide to be 1. They're all gone. And then I'm left with b to the ninth, and I simplified 5 to the third. At any time, this is a video. You can rewind, you can fast forward, you can pause. Have conversations with the people at your table about what you're seeing. If they can explain it and if you can talk about it, you will know how to do it. So when this is done and you feel pretty confident, you can then work on the homework for today.